America's closest friend just did the unthinkable. Canada, calm, quiet, and loyal, has just pulled the plug on American products. But this isn't a loud protest. No headlines, no press conferences, just shelves going empty, brands quietly vanishing from Canadian life. And now, US states are starting to panic. Because this time, it's not politicians fighting, it's ordinary Canadians, closing their wallets, one American product at a time. In this video, we'll count down the 10 US products now banned, blocked, or boycotted across Canada. From whiskey to streaming services, from trucks to peanut butter, these aren't just items. They're lifelines for American jobs and state economies. And now, those lifelines are snapping. If you think one country can't make a difference, think again, because Canada just proved it can. Let's dive in. Number 10. American beer. Budweiser and Coors vanish from Canadian taps. You won't find a more American brand overseas than Budweiser. For decades, it sat proudly on Canadian bar shelves. Cold, reliable, everywhere. But not anymore. After the 2025 US tariff hikes, Canadian pubs began making a quiet statement, pulling American beer from their taps. In Ontario and Quebec, independent bar owners started replacing Budweiser and Coors with Canadian craft brews, not because of cost, but because of principle. Beer Canada reports a 28% drop in US beer sales in Canada just this year. That's not just a dip, it's a full-on consumer rebellion. Some bars even posted signs, "No American beer until fair trade returns." The movement started small, one tap at a time, but it's spreading fast. For the Midwest, especially states like Missouri and Colorado that produce these brands, this is more than lost revenue. It's lost pride. Local breweries are laying off staff, canceling expansion plans, and watching a decades-old export market slip away because Canada simply said, "We've had enough." And that's just the start. What happens when not just beer, but the very image of American culture gets pushed out of the fridge? Number 9. Jack Daniel's. American whiskey leaves Canadian shelves. What's more American than Jack Daniel's? For years, this Tennessee classic flowed freely in Canadian bars and liquor stores. But now, the bottles are collecting dust, or vanishing altogether. In direct response to US tariffs on Canadian aluminum and lumber, Canadian consumers started voting with their glasses. The LCBO, one of the largest liquor distributors in North America, reported a 33% plunge in Jack Daniel's sales in the second quarter of 2025. And they're not alone. Bars across Toronto, Ottawa, and Vancouver are reworking menus. Jack's out, Crown Royal's in. And this isn't about taste, it's about values. One bartender in Montreal said, "If America won't respect our economy, why should we serve their liquor?" For states like Tennessee and Kentucky, this isn't a minor blip. Whiskey exports are a massive part of their economic identity. But with fewer Canadian buyers, distilleries are scaling back. Workers are seeing fewer hours. And for the first time in decades, the whiskey pipeline into Canada is starting to dry up. Jack Daniel's didn't do anything wrong, but it's paying the price for a country that picked a fight, and Canada quietly pushed back. Before we move on, hit that subscribe button, like, and hit the notification bell to boost this video in the algorithm and support our work. Number 8. Disney vacations. The magic is gone. Imagine this. You've been planning your dream Disney vacation for years, but now you're canceling it. Not because of money, but because of principle. That's exactly what's happening in Canadian households across the country. In 2025, Disney parks in Florida and California saw a 38% drop in Canadian tourists, according to Destination Canada. Entire families pulled the plug, not because the tickets got too expensive, but because they no longer feel welcome. One mother from British Columbia put it plainly, "We don't want to take our kids to a country that's punishing ours." Canada's tourism boycott is subtle but massive. Florida alone is estimated to have lost over $500 million in Canadian visitor revenue this year. And Disney is taking a direct hit. Resorts are emptier, travel agents are shifting promotions, and US theme park workers, from Orlando to Anaheim, are starting to feel the sting. You can't manufacture magic when resentment is growing. For millions of Canadians, Disney is no longer the happiest place on earth. It's a symbol of a country that doesn't value its neighbors. And the dream vacation? It's officially canceled. Number 7. Levi's, Nike, and Columbia. Fashion turns political. For decades, American fashion brands like Levi's, Nike, and Columbia were household names across Canada. worn proudly by teens, athletes, and outdoor lovers alike. But in 2025, wearing an American label isn't just a style choice. It's a political statement. According to retail analytics firm TrendStats, Levi's sales in Canada dropped by 27% in Q2 of 2025. Nike fell by 19%, and Columbia dropped 22%. Not because Canadians suddenly disliked jeans and windbreakers, but because they're tired of supporting a country that slapped tariffs on their economy and walked away. Social media movements like Wear Local Canada are exploding. At stores like MEC and Simons, customers are actively asking for non-American alternatives. And fashion influencers? They've swapped Levi's for local denim, and Nike swooshes are being replaced by Canadian startups. The shift isn't about price, it's about principle. One Montreal shopper told CBC, "I used to wear Levi's because it felt iconic. Now it feels ignorant." And for states like Oregon and California, where many of these brands are headquartered, the impact isn't subtle, it's real. From warehouses to marketing departments, jobs are being cut. All because loyalty can't survive silence and arrogance. Number 6. Ford and GM. The auto giant stalling in Canada. Nowhere is the fallout sharper than in the auto industry. And two names at the center of the storm are Ford and General Motors. Detroit's pride, once dominant in Canadian driveways, is now being quietly driven out. After Canada responded to Trump's aluminum and lumber tariffs with a 20% surtax on U.S. vehicles, sales of Ford and GM plummeted. Auto Trader Canada reported a 31% drop in Ford and GM inquiries between March and June 2025. The Ford F-150? Too expensive. The Chevy Silverado? Out of reach. Not because Canadians don't want them, but because buying one now feels like endorsing economic punishment. Dealerships from Ontario to British Columbia are feeling the squeeze. Customers are turning to Hyundai, Toyota, and even European EVs. One dealership in Toronto slashed its American inventory by half, saying, "We just can't move U.S. vehicles anymore." And back in Michigan and Ohio, thousands of workers tied to assembly lines and logistics are staring at reduced hours, or worse, pink slips. The irony? These are the same states that rely on cross-border trade for survival. Ford and GM built their empires on North American unity. But in 2025, that unity is breaking, and Canada is taking the wheel. Before we move on to the next product, take a moment to subscribe. Your support empowers us to investigate the stories others won't touch and deliver thought-provoking content directly to you. Number 5. Peanut butter and U.S. packaged foods. Canada closes the pantry. You probably wouldn't expect peanut butter to be a casualty of a trade war. But in 2025, iconic American brands like Jif and Skippy are being wiped off Canadian shelves. And not because they're out of stock, but because Canadians are done supporting U.S. goods, one spoonful at a time. According to Retail Monitor Canada, sales of American peanut butter brands plunged 34% in spring 2025 compared to the previous year. Stores like Loblaws and Sobeys have quietly shifted toward Canadian alternatives like Nuts to You and Kraft Canada. And it's not just peanut butter. U.S. boxed cereal? Skipped. Imported canned soup? Ignored. A mother in Toronto told Global News, "It's not about boycotting food. It's about boycotting hypocrisy." This trend is devastating for American food producers, especially in Georgia, Arkansas, and Iowa, where packaged food manufacturing is a major economic pillar. What used to be a reliable northbound flow of goods is now being rerouted, rejected, and replaced. And the message from Canadian households is chillingly clear. We'll feed our families, but not with products from a country that disrespects ours. Number 4. Walmart USA brands. Loyalty ends at the border. Even Walmart, the retail titan that's practically woven into the fabric of North American shopping, is feeling the heat. In 2025, Walmart Canada is quietly pulling back from its U.S. roots, and many Canadians are doing the same. Private label U.S. brands like Great Value, Equate, and George, once top sellers, are now vanishing. According to Retail Metrics Canada, sales of these U.S. imported house brands dropped 29% since March 2025. The reason? Not price, not availability, respect. One shopper in Winnipeg summed it up. "Why should I buy from a country that sees us as disposable?" In Alberta and Ontario, entire sections of American-made household items and frozen foods have been replaced by regional brands. Internal Walmart memos leaked in May even revealed a push to de-Americanize select product categories to calm growing consumer resentment. For U.S. suppliers, particularly in Arkansas and the Midwest, where Walmart's sourcing is deeply rooted, this is more than lost shelf space. It's lost contracts, lost revenue, and a warning sign. Even giants fall when the ground shifts beneath them. Number 3. Harley-Davidson and U.S. motorcycles. The road just ended. For decades, Harley-Davidson was more than just a motorcycle brand in Canada. It was freedom on 2 wheels. But in 2025, that engine is stalling out. In direct response to Trump's harsh tariffs on Canadian steel and lumber, Canada hit back, not loudly but effectively, with a 20% import tax on US-made motorcycles and parts. And it hit Harley right where it hurts. According to Motorcycle Canada, Harley sales dropped 46% in the first half of 2025. Dealerships across Quebec, British Columbia, and Ontario are reporting canceled pre-orders, empty showrooms, and a wave of frustrated riders turning to Japanese and European bikes instead. One dealership in Toronto closed its doors after 22 years, stating simply, "We couldn't survive the tariffs and the silence." And here's the deeper wound. Motorcycle clubs, once fiercely loyal to Harley, are now organizing group rides with Hondas, Yamahas, and BMWs. For them, riding American has become a statement, and not a flattering one. The message from Canada's open roads? We're not revving up for trade war politics. We're riding around them. Number 2. Amazon's U.S. marketplace. Prime is no longer king. Once the gold standard of convenience, Amazon's U.S. marketplace is now seeing an exodus of Canadian consumers who've had enough. Cross-border orders from Canada plummeted 39% in Q2 of 2025 compared to the same quarter in 2024, according to E-commerce Trends Canada. The reasons? Customs fees, surprise duties, delays, and more importantly, a rising wave of national pride and quiet resistance. Canadian shoppers are ditching Amazon Prime by the thousands, rallying behind hashtags like #Cancel Prime Canada and switching to domestic retailers like Simon's, Canadian Tire, and Well.ca. A Montreal customer went viral for posting, "I'm not funding a platform that profits from punishing my country." And the numbers back it up, over 100,000 Prime cancellations in Canada within 3 months. For U.S. sellers, especially those in Washington, Texas, and California, this isn't just a sales slump. It's a collapse of trust, loyalty, and market share. Amazon has stayed silent, and that silence is speaking volumes. In a country once addicted to 2-day shipping, people are now saying, "I'd rather wait than give you my money." Number 1. Netflix and U.S. streaming content. The cultural breakup. This one cuts deeper than any tariff, truckload, or trade deal. Because what Canada just did wasn't about cars, beer, or peanut butter. It was about culture. And it hit Netflix, America's entertainment juggernaut, where it never expected mass rejection. Between March and June 2025, Netflix lost over 520,000 Canadian subscribers, according to Streaming Insights Canada. Not because of rising subscription costs, not because of password crackdowns, but because Canadians, en masse, began to see Netflix as a symbol of a country that no longer respects them. And they walked away. Hashtags like #BoycottNetflix and #StreamCanadian took over Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. People proudly posted screenshots of canceled subscriptions, switching to platforms like Crave, CBC Gem, and BritBox. It wasn't just about ditching shows. It was about saying, enough. Netflix tried to pivot by boosting Canadian content, but it was too little, too late. The silence from LA, no acknowledgement, no apology, only made things worse. For many Canadians, every binge watch began to feel like complicity. And here's the chilling part for the US. This isn't just about Netflix. It's about soft power. American culture has long been its secret weapon. Music, movies, media. But now, that influence is cracking. In 2025, Canada turned off the screen. Not because it had to, but because it wanted to. The quiet boycott that shouted louder than any sanction. So, what happens when a country doesn't throw punches? It just stops buying? Jobs disappear, markets dry up, cultural dominance fades. From Michigan's auto plants to Tennessee's distilleries, from California's content studios to Florida's tourism board, the ripple effect of Canada's silent revolt is hitting hard. But the real shock? It's not a government ban. It's people power. Ordinary Canadians closing wallets, canceling trips, and making quiet choices that are shaking America's economic core. And if this is how Canada reacts, the US's closest ally, what happens when others follow? Maybe the next boycott won't be announced on a podium. Maybe it'll come one unsubscribed service, one rejected product, one canceled trip at a time. So tell us, Are you seeing signs of this shift where you live? Are you in a U.S. state feeling the impact of this Canadian retreat? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone who still thinks trade wars end at the border. Because in 2025, they don't. They end in aisles, inboxes, and living rooms, quietly, relentlessly, and far more powerfully than anyone expected. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay curious, and stay tuned, because this story is just getting started.